We don't actually have to pass legislation because that's the world we already live in.
The revolution must be fed.
Hey guys, when I get in there, I think I'm gonna ask a serious question.
Oh, they're not about to mess up my bag. 2 more of these press conferences and I'll be the political guy on Call Her Daddy.
With 1 week left to the election, how do we use our power?
So what I would ask everyone to do is to go to ZohranForNYC.com/GOTV.
Zoran, young man, dream on.
In your time.
Is pretty good. Yeah, Christian being the only one who actually did ask a real question. Is this chat? Did you see this one? What is this?
What's up?
How's it going?
Peter Rosenberg, proud Jewish New Yorker here, supporting this man's arm. I'm dining for mayor. If you don't like the man's policy, no problem. But I pray everyone can listen to this man and understand that not even a part of him is anti-Semitic, and that the days of being anti-Israel government equals anti-Semitism are over. That is a lie being used to strategically divide. Do not fall for it. This is a good man.
Hello again. What's up?
How's it going, man?
I wanted to ask because I remember seeing you in an interview talking about going to bar mitzvahs growing up. I want to ask, what is the influence that Jewish life has had on you?
You know, growing up in this city, I moved here when I was 7 years old, and one of the joys was learning about Jewish identity, Jewish culture, religion, and through so many of my friends and through their families. And I remember being invited over for Hanukkah. I remember watching Crazy Nights. I remember going to bar and bat mitzvahs and coming home and asking my dad why we didn't do any of that in Islam. I still haven't gotten a good answer. And I think what was so beautiful about it was that I understood all of these examples as a part of what it meant to be a New Yorker, as a part of what it meant to love this city. Growing up on 118th and Riverside, you know.
Have you ever been to a mitzvah? Yeah, I've been to a bat mitzvah back in the day. Yeah, I've been to a mitzvah.
There were just so many times where I would be interacting with Jewish culture and not even know that I was. I just thought it was the city around me, and that's what it is. And that's so much of also what animates my desire to serve this city, is having loved and lived in this city. Yeah.
And do you enjoy Michael Rappaport's influence on you?
Next question.
Yeah.
Stupid question, but are there Jewish people in Turkey? Yes. Not like a super significant amount, but yes, there are Turkish Jews, because the Ottoman Empire was a safe haven for Jews. A lot of the Turkish Jews, though, voluntarily migrated when Israel was being invented. But yeah. Are they called jerkies? No. He's lying? Wait, what? He lying about what? This fucking guy never misses a chance to glaze the Ottomans. Okay, here we go. More Ottoman. Here we go. Ottoman Empire again. Here we go. More with Ottoman propaganda. Yo, an accurate reflection of historical events that took place is not Ottoman propaganda. You're the one who thinks it's Ottoman propaganda because all of the fucking Euroids were too busy literally trying to kill every single Jewish person they possibly can fucking find anytime the goddamn Black Plague was happening, where they would be like, oh, it must be the Jews again. Okay? I'm sorry. It's not Ottoman propaganda. It's just the truth. Anytime shit went south, they were like, oh, it must be the Jews. We got to kill them all. And then guess what? You know what they did? They came to fucking the Ottoman Empire. Europe was doing Hearts of Iron 4 IRL. Chatters, use your fucking brain. It's like collective amnesia. No, it's the fucking smartest way to offload the collective guilt of centuries of pogroms and the fucking Holocaust directly back to Muslims somehow, who is the new op. and it works in Israel's favor. So everybody acts like that's the case. Oh, this is a 3,000-year conflict. It's like, bitch, the fuck do you mean? Jews and Muslims coexisted under the banner of the Ottoman Empire and in numerous places in the MENA region far better than Christians and everybody else, okay? There has always been one fucking spoiler in the party out of the Abrahamic religions. They were just like, oh yeah, the Holocaust was really bad. Okay, time to blame the Muslims. Anyway.
Invade. President Trump even saying that China buying Russian oil in spite of its invasion of Ukraine, not even discussed.
So it was clear that the ambitions of the discussion were actually much more modest, and they tended to focus on just trade while avoiding topics such as technology supply chains, such as security tensions, Taiwan, Russia oil embargo, and so forth. And I think that was purposely done so that these sensitive topics don't derail the discussion at hand.
And TikTok.
Did they genocide the Armenians though? Yes. Yes, they did.
Operating in America. The Americans have said they don't want it to remain Chinese owned if it's going to operate in America. We don't know whether that's been resolved either, do we?
We don't know if it's been resolved, but we do get a sense that the momentum is to try to resolve this deal.
And for President Xi, I suppose, just appearing alongside President Trump in the way that he did, you know, there is now a kind of parity between these men. You know, this is the top table these days, and they hadn't met for 6 years. So, you know, it's a big deal.
The fact that President Xi and President Trump are on screen looking as equal, that in itself for President Xi is very strong for him politically in China right now, because one of the key pressures that even he has had is that there has been a lot of direction for him to act strong, to not show that China can be bullied by the US. And so China's policy to really push back, in fact, to even hit back hard, quick, and with strength, really justifies where President Xi is today to be able to show, in fact, he's been a very strong leader.
They undermine democracies in our hemisphere.
I'm very sorry to interrupt, but there's a point of order from Cuba.
Sure. Madam President, yes?
Yes, we have to give the floor to the point of order and the representative of Cuba.
Artículos 71 y 60.
In 61 and 68 of the rules, the permanent representative of the United States is not only lying, substantively deviating from the subject, but is also grossly and expressing against his president, against the dignity of the Assembly and the member states. He is doing so in an uncivilized, crude, and gross way that is not acceptable in this democratic forum. Mr. Waltz, this is the United Nations General Assembly. It is not a signal chat, nor is it the House of Representatives.
Oh! He says, smoke them. God damn. God damn. Was it Walls removed? Yeah, that's why he's doing this shit at the UN now. Yeah, getting fucked on. Oh, Jesus.
Well, we are in the final.
All right, New York mayor's race latest. Mamdani Cuomo pick up endorsements as new polls released.
Stretch of the heated New York City mayoral race, and the latest poll shows it might not be much of a contest.
Well, could it be?
Yep, new polls came out today, ladies and gentlemen. All of the freakouts were maybe short-lived. Latest poll from Thx 11 News, Emerson poll, The Hill shows Zohran Mamdani with a 25-point lead over Andrew Cuomo in the race for New York mayor. Zohran Mamdani at 50%, Andrew Cuomo at 25%, Curtis Sliwa at 21%. The polls also show that over the age of 50 are breaking. Voters over the age of 50 are breaking for Zohran Mamdani over Andrew Cuomo. This is a key demographic that Cuomo has zeroed in on. A lot of you successfully were able to get your parents and your grandparents, maybe, to vote for Zohran Mamdani. And that makes me very happy. It seems. But once again, this is not time. This is not time to feel comfortable. You have to act as though he is 5 points behind, not 25 points ahead or 20 points ahead. Okay? Remember that. Game's not over yet. The poll had Cuomo ahead, had me in a mood, and I live in CA. No, Cuomo wasn't ahead at any poll, but Cuomo had seemingly cut the lead from 20 to 10. Chris Paul style. Chris Paul makes key three to cut the lead down to 42. You know? That was what was going on. And the betting markets were going crazy over it. Okay? Huge three by Chris Paul. They're eliminating the secular Jews and Christians from the data. This is how they got Mamdani's numbers down with the Jewish voters. You ask their religious faith, not how they identify culturally. If it's with the latter, he wins. If it's the former, he loses badly because they're all more right-wing. Wait, what? Christians and Jews make up 67% of New York's population. Muslims make up 4%. Total other is 32%. We're supposed to believe a poll saying Mamdani's losing with that 67% and still has a strong lead over Cuomo. Yeah, the Quinnipiac poll was so fried. This Quinnipiac poll was like the inverse of what we've seen from past campaign performance in the primary. It made no damn sense. It made no damn sense. And I told you this when we saw this. I was like, this doesn't make any sense at all. This is quite literally the opposite of what the primary voter patterns look like. And not only did the primary voter patterns look bad or look exactly the inverse of this, that it just doesn't make sense when looking at direct polls, like affinity polls that pertain to what New York voters of different faiths care about. Okay? It was bullshit. And I guess they tried to massage the numbers here. They're eliminating secular Jews and Christians in the data. This is how they got Mamdani's numbers down with Jewish voters. Yeah, I forget it was something like that. I wanted to point out how absurd the poll was. They're using the polls that eliminate liberals and seculars, basically, most likely because the two polls showing Mamdani leading with Jewish voters were embarrassing, so it became exclusively religious, not cultural. Anyway, let's get back to this.
Robert Moses, what's going on?
Kurt and Rosanna, very encouraging news for Zohran Mamdani this morning. There are two new polls just out this morning that show he may be running away with this race. Let's start with an Emerson College Thx 11 The Hill poll of likely voters. It shows Mamdani up 50% to 25% over former Governor Andrew Cuomo, a 25 percentage point spread. Republican Curtis Sliwa gets 21%, 4% remain undecided. A second poll also out today, a Marist poll, shows Mamdani getting 48%, Cuomo 32%, Sliwa 16%, just 3% remain undecided. These polls today follow a Quinnipiac survey yesterday that shows Mamdani up by 10 percentage points. So we have between a 10 and 25 percentage point spread here between these three polls. The United Bodegas of America yesterday endorsed Mamdani despite expressing concerns over the summer that his plan to open city-run grocery stores could put bodegas out of business. Mamdani says not to worry, there is room for both sorts of establishments in the city.
Some of the highest points of revenue in a bodega have to do with cigarette sales, lottery sales. These are not the things that a city is interested in making it easier for New Yorkers to purchase. What we are speaking about are groceries at a very small scale that will be done alongside supporting these bodegas.
And
Bodegas.
because of the United Bodegas of America's endorsement, the co-founder, Fernando Mateo, announced his resignation from the organization. Mateo, a Republican, said the president of the association violated the group's nonprofit status by endorsing a political candidate. Meantime, Cuomo was on Staten Island, a Republican stronghold, to criticize Mamdani for posting this picture of him making an obscene gesture.
Bro, this guy! Yo! This fucking guy! He loves his fucking cutouts, dude. Damn, banger after banger. Oh my lord. Banger after banger from the Cuomo team. What will they do next? Oh! We know the last time he busted out the IRL printouts, it was your boy. It feels like he just gave up on that. Dude, go back to it. You were killing it, Cuomo. Talk about how Zoran Mamdani hung out one time with Hasan Pica, who also is known as Hamas Abbey. What happened? What happened, bro? Zorro Babdabi. We need to stop Zorro Babdabo. We must stop him. God damn. What are we looking at? This is a old tweet of Zoran Kwame Mamdani flipping the bird during COVID at the I was gonna say Christopher Columbus statue, Columbo. And he's saying like, this is Italiaphobia. This is Italiaphobia. Zorad Babadoobie. Why don't you go back to your TikTok musics instead of doing politics? You're done. You're done. You're done with your freightophobia. Yeah, Italiaphobia is no laughing matter.
In front of a statue of Christopher Columbus back in 2020. Cuomo says it's offensive to Italian Americans. The former governor.
How is this real? How is this real? I can't believe that this is the fucking campaign's last-ditch effort, bro. That is crazy. Oh my God. Oh my God, it's so fucking stupid. In this house, Christopher Columbus is a hero. That's what he said. That's what he said. That's what he said. Oh my Lord, bro. What the fuck?
Picked up some endorsements of his own, namely, former Mayor Mike Bloomberg is backing Cuomo, just as he did in the primary. Democratic Congressman Tom Suozzi of Long Island also endorsed the former governor. So, too, did Hudson Valley Congressman Mike Lawler, who's a Republican, who called Cuomo, quote, the lesser of two evils. And speaking of Republicans.
Can you think of, like, and I mean this sincerely, can you think of a single New Yorker that would be like even in fucking Staten Island, where they'd be like, which one is a better campaign message? Fast and free buses, universal child care, rent freeze for rent control departments, or like, the versus we must protect Christopher Columbus and his integrity. Like, this is so unimaginably stupid. Who the fuck would vote for that?
Cuomo again called on the Republican nominee, Sliwa, to drop out.
I don't believe he's a viable candidate, but I believe he serves as a spoiler and can make a difference that way. I think a vote for Curtis Sliwa is a vote for Zoran Mamdani.
First, I'm not dropping out. Number two, if a Mack truck hit me, and I was turned into a speed bump out here, I'm still on the ballot.
Voting, more than 372,000 New Yorkers have cast their ballots. At this time 4 years ago, by comparison, more than 72,000 had. So turnout is still running at more than 5 times the rate we saw back in 2021. I guess the question, though, is the influx product of Mamdani enthusiasm, or are these Mamdani protest votes? We'll find out next week. Kurt, back to you.
In just 5 days,
We are at a New York institution with a New York institution.
Let's go.
You know what I mean? My guy.
Thank you.
So listen.
Did Mero rob Zoran in high school?
Let's get into it right off rip, man, because we both, you know what I'm saying, New York City kids.
Wait, is this where we went? Is this the same restaurant that we went to with Mero? No, right? Is it?
Grew up on the Upper West Side.
Yes, sir. Morningside Heights.
Yes, sir.
Oh, no, it's not. It's not.
Yeah. When I was doing my research, I was like, oh, snap. I was like, yo, my man Zoran went to Bronx Science.
Yes.
I went to DeWitt Clan. Which was, I was like, you already know where I'm going with this. I was like, listen, for y'all that don't know New York City history.
When your ex takes his new squeeze to the same place, listen, we're in a throuple, okay? Let's be real. We're all locked in. We're all locked in together. This dude is so cool. Greatest stream you had in a while. Yeah, I love, dude, he's the man. He is the fucking man.
Bronx Science is on this side.
Yep.
DeWitt Clinton is on this side.
Yep.
DeWitt Clinton is the magnet school for robbing Bronx Science kids. You know what I'm saying? At Finger Point.
Yo, give me that
Basketball JV team definitely got mugged. Definitely got mugged. I wasn't on it.
Yo, listen, but as a mayor, you know what I mean? Like, you have input into that type of stuff. Because I used to, even as a kid, I was like, why did they put Gen Pop next to the school that you got to test into? And then put Tracy Towers right across the street from that. So, talk about a little bit about that Bronx Science experience, man. Talk to these kids about Bronx high schools, man.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was an experience, like you said. Look, like many Bronx Science kid, I tried for Stuyvesant, didn't get in. Shout out.
I was about to say, I was like, yo, Upper West Side.
But well, you say at Bronx Science, at least we get personalities, so we ended up there. It was good, man. I mean, I used to take the 1 train to the VX10, 231st.
Hasan, New York ass Mero, whatever the fuck is going on with Bracelet Your Fire stream, it was amazing. Yeah. It was. Mero's the best was fun before I found you in 2019.
I'd take the 10, I'd be shouting back door to open it up.
All right, man, back door, man.
And then, but it opened my eyes.
Please do a threesome stream with Mero Mamdani when he wins. Yeah, I mean, after the election is a very different media environment than leading up to the election, let's just say. Especially since your boy's been in the fucking crosshairs pretty heavily. Okay? But we'll see. He'll probably be busy being the mayor, but we'll see.
To New York City. Like, I lived in
Let's
Morningside
just get
Heights.
over the
My
fucking
world
finish
at that
line
time
first, though.
was not too far from where I was.
Right.
But then when I went to Bronx Science, most of my close friends by the time I graduated were living in Queens and in Brooklyn. Like the outer parts, right? We're talking about like if you're in Glen Oaks or if you're in Bath Beach.
You're
like,
in Middle Village.
You know? It's not simple.
I'm taking a train to a bus
Exactly.
to a shuttle.
Exactly. But I think this is what it has been for so many kids growing up in this city, is you get a glimpse of the world that you love and a sense that life could be so much better than this.
100%.
You know?
It's funny because, you know, talking about that, that growing up, that upbringing, people would look at me and look at you and be like, yeah, these guys might have not got along back in the days. You know what I'm saying? But I am here to tell you that is an egregious mischaracterization of your boy and of Zoran. You know what I'm saying? We probably would have been chilling.
100%.
Having, you know what I'm saying, cheeseburger combos.
You know what it is?
You know what I mean? From Kennedy Fried Chicken, which is halal.
Shout out KFC.
Shout out to KFC, the real KFC. You know what I'm saying? But again, upbringing, a very important part of that is parents. We both are children of immigrants.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Which probably explains my next question.
Hit it.
Before you ran for state assemblyman in Queens,
yes,
you managed Ross Barker's state senate campaign in 2018.
Look at you, man.
You know what I'm saying? I got
I got the footnotes.
Yeah, baby. You know what I'm saying? This is journalism with a capital J. Okay? So you were doing that. That takes a lot of energy, bro.
Yeah.
Was that your parents being like, yo, listen, we ain't come here for nothing, bro. Like, you better get your ass down there, get to work.
Did you think Zoran would be where he is when you interviewed him? I think he's on the record saying, not really. No, I did not. I didn't think he'd have, like, I wanted him to be in this moment, obviously, but I did not think that he'd be able to cut away so aggressively from the rest of the crowded field in the primaries in the way that he did. I was very, very worried that there was still going to be a massive race for the general. And I don't think with this level of animosity directed at him, if he wasn't the Democrat that overcame the primary competition, I don't know if he would have been able to win.
You know what I mean? Was that entree into politics?
I'm telling him you doubted. Brother, I don't think he and his team thought that they'd be here either. What are you talking about? Anyone that tells you that they were 100% confident is probably lying. People knew what he represented. People knew that he would be fantastic. But, I mean, it seems impossible until it's done. It still feels crazy. It feels fucking insane. Look at the chemistry, bros. He already forgot about you. Yeah, bro. Well, so delusional people don't exist to you? I mean, they do. I hate saying this, but he's an Obama-level communicator. He's destined for greatness. I hope he stands on business. I agree. He said he told his wife he had a 3% chance of winning. Yeah, I don't think he believed it either. If Zoran wins, Flagrant Boys will flex their clout again. Yeah, I don't think anyone is going to fucking buy that. Let's be real. I think the real ones know who was there, okay? And that is Stalwart. Or what was it? Is it Stalwart? The Odd Lots. That's the OG. Okay? The OG was actually Odd Lots, like straight up. It was Majority Report, Odd Lots. It was my broadcast as well, obviously, and Chapo. Yeah, and Kareem too, for sure.
On purpose? Were you just trying to beef up your college resume? Like
It actually all began a few years earlier. So Das Racist, he's
yeah.
right?
So speaking of Bronx Science, I thought
right?
my Bronx Science graduates.
So I used to be a big Das Racist fan, and I remember opening up the Village Voice in 2015. There was an article about Heems endorsing his childhood friend Ali.
Stabby Baby was the most OG. He was talking about voting for Zoran on Cumtown. Wait,
Yeah,
what?
we get a lot of Greek. Oh, wait. You have Greek people running Astoria?
Well,
For,
I voted
state
against the Greek
assembly?
lady. I voted against.
Wow.
There's a lady
Benedict
named
Arnold.
Aravella Simotas.
Yeah.
And I was like, hit the fucking bricks, bitch. I got my boy Zohan or whatever the fuck his name is.
You got that
Zoran,
guy?
yeah.
Is he chill?
Yeah, he's good.
Yo, Stabby Baby back in fucking 2020. Goddamn. And even back then, vote for Zoran if you're in Astoria. No politician seeking the coveted podcaster endorsements offer me a bribe. So I've had to rely solely on the issues in his platform rocks. He's for housing for all, healthcare for all, defunding the NYPD. So much more good shit. Go vote. Yeah, no, I got to sit down to the real kingmaker, baby. That doesn't count. It's a different race. It's an assemblyman. Okay? That's different. We're talking to the mayoral run. Okay? We're talking to the mayoral run. But you know what? Fucking I'll take it. The Greek once again proves he is wiser than the nasty Turk. Okay?
He nudged me, who was running for city council.
The Greek
And so I
has
saw
the
this and I was like,
foresight The Greek has the foresight over the Turk. We'll give this one to the Greeks. Fuck it, whatever.
I gotta help out. So I took the F train to 169th Street, and I would get out and knock on doors for Uli. And he ran, and shout out to my man, he did lose, but that was my entry into local politics.
It's pretty funny though, because like that's how you know this dude has motion, that motherfuckers are like, oh dude, I watched him in the Gravel days. It's like, bitch, you didn't know who the fuck he was. I watched his Gravel Institute video in 2020 as well. I didn't know who the fuck he was. I wasn't as like invested in the New York Assembly member races in general. A lot of you are trying to fucking be like, oh, I was there. It's like, come on, dude, calm down. It makes sense for Stavros because he's like tapped in, but you know, his mayoral run is an entirely different thing.
And so from there, I got more involved with a club called the Muslim Democratic Club of New York. And I ended up working on a city council race in Bay Ridge for a Palestinian Lutheran minister.
In Bay
It
Ridge?
makes like a Republican's head explode.
Right.
They're like, what do you mean he's a Palestinian Lutheran minister? I was
What?
like,
In Bay Ridge?
here we are.
What are you talking?
Come
It's
on.
all right. Nah,
Come
bro.
on.
Listen, bro. What are we talking
Catch
about
up
here?
to the present, baby.
Come
This is
on,
where we
what are
are.
we doing?
So I worked on that campaign. It changed my life. That was a campaign I used to do like an hour and a half round trip on the train to get down from Morningside Heights to Bay Ridge. I would sleep. Yeah, I mean, that's how much I believed in it. Because here was a guy who understood that dignity was something that was non-negotiable. Everybody deserves it. We can't keep letting New Yorkers get priced out. And that it's consistent to believe that and want the same things for everybody everywhere.
Yeah.
And after I worked on that, then I became Ross Barkan's campaign manager. And actually, my parents, I would say, they've just been supportive throughout my life. Whenever I wanted to take a big...
Your New Yorker mini interview dropped. Oh God, it was kind of cringe. I'm not gonna lie.
This is Labubu sized. Perfect for the performative male.
I gotta pee.
swing, that I can take it with confidence.
Right.
And the one thing, though, when I ran for state assembly, my mom was like, you don't have to have a master's to do that? I was like, no.
shit,
I was like, no.
Why
I was
would
like, no.
Why?
A bachelor's is sufficient.
Listen.
Actually, there's no requirement.
Why do y'all do that? Why do y'all do that? My mom was like, yo, listen, I got a big TV deal, you know what I'm saying? I got a little bit of a bag, it's all right. And then my mom immediately called me and was just like, look, she didn't call me. Let's be real. She did what immigrant mothers do. She left me a 5-minute WhatsApp voice note.
Hit it.
You know what I'm saying? I had to put it on 2x speed, and she was just like, why did you get a degree? Wouldn't you get a pay bump if you got a degree? I was like, Mom, that is not how show business works. It is not a meritocracy. You know what I'm saying? The studio system is cooked. So was that what made you like, you know, rub the political coke in your gums? Like, and be like, yo, we going,
It's
we
exactly
doing this.
how I describe it, actually. It's so funny that you would say that. Whenever I'm at a forum, I'm like, so this is what it happens.
I got the itch, man.
Anybody got any here? No. That's not what I say. That's not how we describe this.
That's just a marrow thing. You know what I'm
It's a
saying?
you thing. It's a you thing. This is water.
There's nothing there.
Please.
This is a completely halal set.
This has been sponsored by Andrew Cuomo. He's like hanging out here. Ask him the cocaine question.
Yeah. He'll be like, well, listen, a little toot here and there. All right? Doesn't matter. It makes my nipples relax. Okay?
I'm just here. I'm not engaging.
I'll do all the engagement on that part.
I'm just kidding.
For low-qual mozzarella.
Media engagement.
A victory light.
But let me just ask you, if I can, about something else which is coming into us in the last few minutes. This is about immigration to the United States, one of Donald Trump's favorite campaign themes, of course, in the election. He has set the refugee admission ceiling at 7,500 for next year, for the fiscal year 2026. That is the lowest cap on record. That's according to a White House document that's been published. No doubt the administration will be trumpeting that.
They certainly will, but it is a very, very controversial move. In the document which was published on the website of the Federal Register, they said explicitly that of those 7,500 refugees, the vast majority would be white South Africans. Over the last few months, we've seen repeatedly, including in an Oval Office kind of encounter.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Straight up fucking this country over, dude. It's awesome. American century of humiliation, baby. American century of humiliation. We brought it on ourselves. What can you fucking do? Incredible. Incredible.
Counter with South African President Cyril Ramaphosa. The Trump administration repeat claims, which they've provided no evidence that white South Africans are facing genocide in their country. Already, refugee advocates who have seen this move coming for quite some time have said that this is very unfair to other persecuted minorities around the world. Even former U.S. allies in Afghanistan and in the Middle East, they're essentially not allowed to come as refugees, and the Trump administration has opened the door very specifically to this one group of refugees from South Africa.
Okay, Bernd Boosman, our senior reporter in Washington. Thank you very much indeed.
Hello.
All right. JD Vance got fucking cooked. JD Vance got absolutely cooked at the Turning Point USA conference thing that he did last night by a bunch of right-wingers too, nonetheless. Very cool stuff. Why is the president taking on the role of a podcaster? I do not know. It's just podcaster world. I was talking to someone else about this, but I can't help but notice that like sometimes I think I forget who I was talking to, but I was talking to someone about this where we were conversing about how stupid it is that JD Vance knows who I am or like knows the intricacies of drama that I get involved in. And this person brought up the fact that, yeah, well, for these guys, being a podcaster is the best possible job you can have. And it's kind of true. All the podcasters that work in the admin hate their lives now. Dan Bongino is on the fucking verge of suicide because he dropped his cushy job hawking dick pills and cryptocurrency to go actually do an honest day of work as a deputy director of the FBI. Podcasting is seemingly the ultimate job for these guys.
Mr. Vice President, thank you so much for giving this opportunity to talk here today. I did not agree with many of the things that you said right ahead of this, but I don't think that's my point to discuss here. What I want to ask is, you are married to a woman who is not Christian. In her Wikipedia, I mean, I just looked that up. I wanted to know what her faith was. I didn't know this before. But she still calls herself Hindu. You are raising three kids in interracial, cultural, racial, religious household. How are you maintaining or how are you teaching your kids not to keep your religion ahead of their mother's religion? Or how are you teaching them that your kind, they're that kind who got here just a few years or few decades ago is different or is better than your mom's kind who got here just a generation before? How are you balancing that? And when you talk about too many immigrants here, when did you guys decide that number? Why did you sell us a dream? You made us spend our youth.
What do you mean? What the fuck is this question? She's popping off, dude. My queen. Chatters give no grace to someone whose second language is English. Calm down and listen to her words. She's saying you got an Indian wife who's not Christian, and you're out here kicking big game about Christian nationalism and how immigrants are bad. Like, how do you educate your children on that? It doesn't make any sense.
Our wealth in this country and gave us a dream. You don't owe us anything. We have worked hard for it. Then how can you, as a vice president, stand there and say that we have too many of them now and we are going to take them out, to people who are here rightfully so, by paying the money that you guys asked us. You gave us the path, and now how can you stop it and tell us we don't belong here anymore? And one more thing, I'm sorry, one more thing. Do you have to
There's
be...
a lot there. I don't know if I'm going to remember all this, but I will try.
I'm sorry. I had to say all of this, and please take it with due... I mean, I'm saying all of this with due respect.
Go ahead. Please.
I have no intention of causing a scene here or anything, but...
We're not close to causing a scene, don't worry.
But we talked about Christianity, all of this. I'm not even Christian, and I'm here standing to show support. Why are we making Christianity one of the major things that you have to have in common to be one of you guys, to show that I love America just as much as you do? Why is that still a question? Why do I have to be a Christian?
Okay, so there was a lot there, and I'm going to try to respond to as much of it as I can. So on the question of immigration, so first of all, I can believe that we should have lower immigration levels, but if the United States passed a law and made a promise to somebody, the United States, of course, has to honor that promise. Nobody's talking about that. I'm talking about people who came in violation of the laws of the United States of America, and I'm talking about in the future reducing the number of people. Sorry, what?
Can I continue on that? Because when you just said you are not stopping with the people who came here legally, right? But you are pushing out policies that hurt us. And these policies are not even solving the problems. These policies are just creating chaos.
Ma'am. Okay, so again, I'm gonna finish answering the question, and then if I've answered all 9 of your questions in less than 15 minutes, then we can keep on going. We got to have a little fun, right? So here's the thing. I can believe that the United States should lower its levels of immigration in the future, while also respecting that there are people who have come here through lawful immigration pathways that have contributed to the country. But just because one person or 10 people or 100 people came in legally and contributed to the United States of America, does that mean that we're thereby committed to let in 1 million or 10 million or 100 million people a year in the future? No, that's not right. We cannot have, I'll go and finish, we cannot have an immigration policy where what was good for the country 50 or 60 years ago binds the country inevitably for the future. There's too many people who want to come to the United States of America, and my job as vice president is not to look out for the interests of the whole world, it's to look out for the people of the United States. Now,
Dog, your wife is Indian, owned. That's it. Do you feel like do you feel like your wife is here taking advantage of American prosperity, or do you feel like your wife has contributed to American prosperity? That's the question. For white people who are coping about their position in society, that's the problem. Racist people think Indians, Muslims, whatever, brown people, black people, they come into this country and they take advantage of it. That's not the case. That's not the case at all. And it's so, I would say it's a deep shame that he won't even factor that into his conversation here and use his own personal experience with a loved one to say, like, immigrants make this country great, because he can't say it. Right? But that is the reality. He's so shameless.
Now, you asked a personal question about our interfaith household, and yes, my wife did not grow up Christian. I think it's fair to say that she grew up in a Hindu family, but not a particularly religious family in either direction. In fact, when I met my wife, we were both, I would consider myself an agnostic or an atheist, and that's what I think she would have considered herself as well. You know, everybody has to come to their own arrangement here. The way that we've come to our arrangement is she's my best friend. We talk to each other about this stuff. So we decided to raise our kids Christian. Our two oldest kids who go to school, they go to a Christian school. Our 8-year-old did his first communion about a year ago. That's the way that we have come to our arrangement. But, thank you. My 8-year-old was also very proud of his first communion. Thank you, guys. I'll tell him that Ole Miss wishes him the best. But I think everybody has to have...
It's so fake. When Hundo P, his kids are going to be fucking atheists, dude. What a silly, stupid fucking game we play. Still in this day and age. Everything that this man does is calculated. He is the biggest brown noser of all time. He will literally farm out his children to advance a talking point. A cynical little weasel. If J.D. Vance was my dad, I too would renounce God. Well, it seems like if J.D. Vance was your son, you too also would renounce God and trade him for some perk 30s. Classic.
This own conversation when you're in a marriage. I mean, it's true for friends of mine who are in Protestant and Catholic marriages, friends of mine who are in, atheist and Christian marriages. You just got to talk to the only advice I can give is you just got to talk to the person that God has put you with, and you've got to make those decisions as a family unit. For us, it works out. Now, most Sundays, Usha will come with me to church. As I've told her, and I've said publicly, and I'll say now in front of 10,000 of my closest friends, do I hope eventually that she is somehow moved by the same thing that I was moved in by church? Yeah, I honestly do wish that, because I believe in the Christian gospel, and I hope eventually my wife comes to see it the same way. But if she doesn't, then God says everybody has free will, and so that doesn't cause a problem for me. That's something you work out with your friends, with your family, with the person that you love. Again, one of the most important Christian principles is that you respect free will. Usha's closer to the priests who baptized me than maybe I am. They talk about this stuff. My attitude is you figure this stuff out as a family, and you trust in God to have a plan, and you try to follow it as best as you can, and that's what I try to do. I want to make a...
It's so fake. Remember, he's a fucking Yale graduate, pussy-ass libtard. I guess there is some kind of divine punishment at play here. Because, like, you're trying to farm respect from an audience that literally thinks you married someone less than human. So, good luck on that front. Who think your children are lesser than they are because they're half Indian. You have to really eat a lot of self-respect in that regard. It's probably even harder than doing this whole routine about Christianity and how you found God. You know what I mean?
Final point. So I don't want to cut you off. I want to be respectful to all the people behind you in line, but I want to make this point about immigration, okay? If you ask the question, what is the exact right number of immigrants for the United States to let in, it is just very specific on the context. If you go back to the 1920s, The United States passed an Immigration Reform Act that effectively cut down immigration to close to zero for 40 years in this country. And what happened over those 40 years? The many, many people who had come from many different foreign countries and different foreign cultures, they assimilated into American culture. And there was an expectation that they would assimilate into American culture. I think we have two problems in our immigration system today. And my guess is you're probably a slightly more leftist political persuasion, liberal political persuasion, maybe not. But here's the thing. I remember back in my establishment GOP days when I was still very early getting involved in Republican politics,
That's literally like, what, 2 years ago? You mean 2 years ago? When Peter Thiel paid for you to run for Ohio Senate? He makes it seem like he'd been doing this for like 20 years. I think a lot of people forget that this man was a woke libtard on MSNBC in like 2018. I believe it was 2020, right? Was it the 2020 race where he won his seat? The only Peter Thiel candidate that actually won. Oh, no, it's not even 2022. Not even 2020. Oh, my God. '22, baby. So, yeah, it is literally 3 years ago. I was right. How incredible. Like, his wife married Usha, my queen, married a guy who wrote a famous book that liberals love to consume about how the white working class are fucking stupid hicks with so much hatred in their hearts that they voted for Donald Trump because they're a bunch of racist, irredeemable, monstrous hicks. And then she had to sit there and watch him go on every fucking neo-Nazi podcast for the next like 3 years, 4 years, only to become the vice president of Donald Trump. Because remember, these are people that are Yale graduated. J.D. Vance called Donald Trump Hitler. They know better. Imagine getting married to a man and having children with a man only to have him turn into a fucking groiper on camera. That's got to be pathetic. That's awesome. You're like, hey, remember when we were at Yale and we were both woke? What the fuck happened? And he'll obviously present that as like serious character development. That's one of the... Dude. Here is another instance where it doesn't take much to grift to the right. Here's a guy who literally called Donald Trump Adolf Hitler, alongside RFK Jr., by the way, who also called him Adolf Hitler. And both have, here's a guy who spent his entire career getting liberals to give him money, only to turn around and be like, I love Donald Trump, that's it. And everybody is like, oh, that's perfect. He loves Donald Trump. He said it. That's it. There is no version of this on the opposing side. Like, there's no world where you have, I mean, I guess you have the rhinos or the never Trump Republicans and stuff, but like, broadly speaking, I don't think liberals are so easy to trust, and leftists certainly are not easy to trust, the person who then turns around and says like, oh yeah, I know I spent my entire life's work is being a conservative, a shitty conservative, and working for the Trump administration and all this stuff, only to now fucking turn around and be like, yeah, I'm actually good. And before you say, they brought back motherfucking Cheney, man. Yeah, and it failed. I don't think liberals are as, I mean, with George W. Bush, maybe. But I don't think liberals are as open-minded to this kind of stuff as the Republicans are, is what I'm saying. And the left certainly is not. The left is not.
Remember a conservative think tank person who told me that one of the reasons why immigration was really good is that if you had enough diversity in a country, people would mistrust each other and they wouldn't join labor unions. Okay? So when I see a lot of left-wing people who theoretically support organized labor saying we need to flood the country with a limitless number of immigrants, they're unwilling to set any limitations on it. My response to that is you are destroying the very social trust on which American freedom and prosperity was built. And that is really important to me. So the honest answer to your question, what is the exact number of immigrants America should accept in the future? Right now, the answer is far less than we've been accepting. We have got to become a common community again, and you can't do that when you have such high numbers of immigration, which is one of the reasons why we have the immigration policy we do. Thank you. Next. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm a Christian man, and I'm just confused why that there's this notion that we might have owe Israel something, or that they're our greatest ally, or that we have to support this multi-hundred-billion-dollar foreign aid package to Israel to cover this, to quote Charlie Kirk, ethnic cleansing in Gaza. I'm just confused why this idea has come around, considering the fact that not only does their religion not agree with ours, but also openly supports the prosecution of ours.
Yeah, so
that's a groiper. Oh, here we go. We got the groipers. They're groiping up. They're groiping all up and down. Groipers didn't get their notes from King Groiper that you can't go that hard on Jews anymore because you want to be a part of the Republican infrastructure. We will be there for the next great Groiper war. Also, it's just incorrect. The notion that like the Jewish religion is actually in favor of prosecution of Christians, all this stuff. It's all unimaginably nonsensical garbage. It is a persecution fetish advanced over and over and over again. It's just dumb as fuck.
Let's say a few things about this. First of all, when the President of the United States says America first, that means that he pursues the interests of Americans first. That is our entire foreign policy. And that doesn't mean that you're not.
Israel spit on Christians? Could he mean this? Yeah, that's Israel, dude. That's Israeli settlers in the fucking West Bank. The fuck that got to do with... Brother, if you live in a multicultural society, if you live in like New York, or you live in fucking Los Angeles or some shit, like that's not, if you think that that's what the average American Jew is doing or thinking, you are the most delusional person on the planet. Please, you're comparing a literal ethno-religious supremacist nation and some of the most fundamentalist weirdos within the ethno-supremacist religious, ethno-religious supremacist religious nation to fucking what Jews do broadly, or even beyond that, what Judaism actually wants. That's the funniest thing is like these guys, they can't even just be like, yo, Israel sucks, which is like the normal position. It's an understandable position to have. Israel does fucking suck. They have to be like, Israel sucks, but honestly, it's because of Judaism. It's because of the Jews. Israel sucks because it's comprised of Jews. And I read the Talmud, and the Jews are always saying we have to drink the blood of Christian children. Like all this shit. It's just so fucking dumb. Be normal.
Not going to have alliances, that you're not going to work with other countries from time to time, and that is what the president believes, is that Israel, sometimes they have similar interests to the United States and we're going to work with them in that case. Sometimes they don't have similar interests to the United States.
When? Can you give me a moment under either Trump administration where Israel and American interests actually collided and America took action against Israel? At most, you made the Israeli fighter jets turn around after you had personally bombed Iran. That's it. You let Israel bomb Qatar 50 miles off your fucking U.S. Central Command base in Doha. That literally did happen. So it kind of feels like, especially, no, not USS Liberty, Chad. I'm talking about Donald Trump 1 and Donald Trump 2. Donald Trump is a bigger Israel dick rider than every other fucking American president, with maybe one exception in Joe Biden. Okay? Like, Joe Biden is a real ass ultra Zionist. Okay? But as far as like who, in terms of policy, has rode Israel's dick the hardest, it's not even a question. Both of these fucking administrations, Donald Trump has dick rode Israel so hard it turned into dust. That's what Israel dick turned into, dust. That's how hard Trump rode it. He quite literally set the stage for October 7 to happen by completely writing out the Palestinians from the conversation and trying to move forward with normalizing relations between Israel and all the Gulf states. It is fucking ridiculous. The question veers into anti-Semitic territory at the end, and Vance's own answer involves some prose or propaganda, but I can't imagine any of this exchange happening a decade ago. Yeah. Politely disagree. This has been a paleocon thing for decades. Hate sending money to Israel. Don't like that it's filled with Jews. Also see it as a model for a white American ethno-state. It's Pat Buchanan's beat. Sure, but paleocons were marginalized for decades. You never see a VP fielding or answering questions like this. Yeah. I think there's also an argument for Obama being more of a dick rider than both Biden and Trump because of how much they endlessly railed against him, calling him an anti-Semite and Jew hater, yet he literally gave him billions on his way out. No. The reason why they gave him shit is because Barack Obama was pro-Israel as every other president was, but he was very much at odds with Israel's interests when it mattered, and that's the reason why they fucking endlessly yelled at him and called him a Jew hater. The JCPOA was a moment where America was like, hold on, we're the superpower. We're going to deal with Iran ourselves. It's one of the only decent successes of his foreign policy accomplishments. Yeah, Barack Hussein Obama. So that definitely was a major shift. Not prioritizing Israel's every interest. And it's not like he was, super invested in like the Palestinian plight or anything. He could have done a lot more in that regard. He didn't. But he was like, we're America. We're going to control our own Middle Eastern affairs. And Israel did not like that at all. And then Donald Trump won. And lo and behold, Donald Trump gave Israel the keys to the fucking castle. They basically have dominated American Middle Eastern policy since then.
And this example, the most recent Gaza peace plan that all of us have been working on very hard for the past few weeks, the President of the United States could only get that peace deal done by actually being willing to apply leverage to the state of Israel. So when people say that Israel is somehow manipulating or controlling the President of the United States, they're not controlling this President of the United States, which is one of the reasons.
Yeah, right. Donald Trump has Miriam Adelson's old ass fingers shoved so far up his asshole that she basically opens and closes his fucking mouth. The idea that this president is far, far more aggressive in terms of dealing with Israel is such a ridiculous statement. Miriam Adelson is resting her fucking old ass hands inside of Donald Trump's nussy, his neck pussy, when she doesn't feel like making Trump talk. Get the fuck out of here, dude. The major difference between Trump and Joe Biden is that even though they're both experiencing different stages of dementia, Donald Trump at least has some self-interest and he wants to do real estate developer deals. So the Gulf nations can sometimes cause him to moderate on his position. But that's it.
Reasons why would it be able to have some of the success that we've had in the Middle East. Now you ask about, sort of Jews disagreeing with Christians on certain religious ideas. Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the realities is that Jews do not believe that Jesus Christ is the Messiah. Obviously, Christians do believe that. There are some significant theological disagreements between Christians and Jews. My attitude is, let's have those conversations. Let's have those disagreements when we have them. But if there are shared areas of interest, we ought to be willing to do that too. For example, one thing I really, really care about is the preservation of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. Christians believe.
Yeah. Famously, Israel has been far better. Famously, Israel's been far better at protecting religious sites that belong to the Christians as opposed to the thousands of years of Muslim rule, okay? Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here, dude.
That is the site where Jesus Christ was crucified, and also that his tomb is right there as well. My attitude is, if we can work with our friends in Israel to make sure that Christians have safe access to that site, that's an obvious area of common interest. I'm fine with that. What I'm not okay with is any country coming before the interests of American citizens, and it is important for all of us, assuming we're American citizens, to put the interest of our own country first. That's what we're going to.
At last night's Turning Point event, a student was applauded for asking about Israel manipulating the U.S. and the Jewish religion openly supports the prosecution of ours. Vance's response, Trump is strong and he likes that Israel protects an important church. Vance didn't dispute the assertion that Israel may have manipulated the U.S. other than with Trump, what the questioner calls ethnic cleansing at Gaza, nor the claim that Jews are prosecuting Christians. He didn't stop the crowd from applauding all those statements. Oh, no. Edward, oh, no. Edward Isaac Dover. Oh, no, that's crazy. You mean to tell me it wasn't the left that was actually doing unlimited anti-Semitism? You mean to tell me that it was always and will continue to be the field of interest primarily dominated by the right? No. It's just so crazy because, like, this has always been the case, and it will forever continue to be the case. And yet, for some fucking strange reason, I know what the reason is. So many of the Israel dick riders for the last 2 years spent every waking moment talking about the anti-Semitism of the left, the anti-Semitism of the left, because they thought that they could get a lot of mileage out of, because they can't do there's anti-Semitism on the right because no one on the right gives a shit. And the right is pro-Israel. But now that the right is no longer as pro-Israel as they used to be, and there is unlimited anti-Semitism coming from the right, and not just like anti-Israel sentiment. I'm talking like, Jews killed Jesus. Judaism requires the consistent domination of Christianity. All this like nonsensical bullshit. Now that's running amok on the right. And there were so many conservative Jews who, for some weird fucking reason, from David Horowitz to Ben Shapiro to Dennis Prager, that unironically thought that they could just continue doing anti-woke culture shit and continue doing unlimited far-right propaganda and not inevitably get to a point where the far-right base of support would inevitably go, wait a minute, why the fuck don't we do this for Jews too? We hate everybody. Why not just Jews as well? That was always in the backdrop. Always in the fucking backdrop, where there were people waiting in the fucking shadows being like, yeah, one day we can tie this all back to Jews openly as we do privately and quietly for the time being. So good job on absolutely gutting the institutional relevance and the institutional taboo of the term anti-Semitism by diluting it and weaponizing it primarily against leftists who are anti-Zionist but not anti-Semitic. Good job. What the fuck did you think was going to happen? Also, why did you ever think that you could do great replacement theory fear-mongering as a Jew? Where do you think that theory ends up with? Like, that's the other crazy thing. Like David Horowitz and Ben Shapiro, all these conservative Jews ran around doing great replacement fear-mongering. Who's doing the great replacement in the eyes of the right? They're not going to think it's global capital. They're going to say it's the international Jewry. That's what they used to say, and they're back to it. What the fuck did you think was going to happen? It's just so stupid. Yeah. Also, here's this. Kevin Roberts, Texas, the president of the Heritage Foundation and Heritage Action, has announced that the organization is standing by Tucker Carlson in the aftermath of Tucker's interview with neo-Nazi Nick Fuentes. This isn't Kevin bending his knee to Trump. This is something new. In his statement, Kevin condemns what he calls a venomous coalition that is sowing division by attacking Tucker. That venomous coalition includes MAGA Republicans as well as Jewish conservative commentators, activists, and donors. Kevin also frames Nick Fuentes' rhetoric as worthy of debate rather than something to be condemned outright. A shift like this would have been unthinkable for Heritage just 3 years ago. The Heritage Foundation is the vehicle that moves reactionary sentiment in this country. Make no mistake. No, this is not a let them fight moment. This is a consolidation moment. They are saying, instead of trying to stop the anti-Semitic forces, we are going to normalize them. Instead of trying to stop anti-Semitism, like open anti-Semitism, we're not even speculating at this point. This is not like, oh, are you anti-Israel? You must be anti-Semitic. Like, we're talking straight up Holocaust denial, okay? The one fucking thing that people post-World War II had immediate disgust for, right? And was able to be held up as the one thing that you can't really get away with saying and doing for like 75 fucking years. And Israel bricked it in two. Remember, the Heritage Foundation also wrote Project Esther, which makes this a lot funnier because Project Esther is like opening up the floodgates under Project 2025. They wrote Project Esther, which is their project to basically destroy the First Amendment by opening the door by tackling anti-Semitism. I fear if you see this, you will never let it down, but I can't keep this from you. In short, the Turk is a gentleman and freedom exists only in Turkey. Kral Marx. Yeah, look at this.
Coming days. But today I want to be clear about one thing. Christians can critique the state of Israel without being anti-Semitic.
Notice how he says Christians can critique the state of Israel without being anti-Semitic. Something to consider. Christians can criticize the state of Israel without coming across as anti-Semitic. Muslims, on the other hand, well, you know how those muzzies are. You feel me?
Semitic. And of course, anti-Semitism should be condemned. My loyalty as a Christian and as an American is to Christ first and to America always. When it serves the interests of the United States to cooperate with Israel and other allies, we should do so with partnerships on security, intelligence, and technology. But when it doesn't, conservatives should feel no obligation to reflexively support any foreign government, no matter how loud the pressure.
That's crazy. I still think it's lip service, but I cannot believe that one of the most important figures in right-wing politics, perhaps around the globe, because he's one of the most important figures in right-wing politics in America, and therefore America being the leader of all of the Western nations, means that like the Heritage Foundation is now taking a position where, one, Christians can shit on Jews and Israel, and that America shouldn't abide by this pro-Israel sentiment. Now, do I think that that is going to hold, or do I think it's a lip service to bring the Groypers on board with the movement? I think it's the latter rather than the former, okay? Make no mistake. I don't think that this Republican allegiance with Israel is shakeable like this. But I still think it's lip service. But that can all change. Who's this guy? Oh, just the president of the Heritage Foundation. Just a guy. The president of the Heritage Foundation. The guys that wrote Project 2025. The guys that have been responsible for every fucking key Republican issue that they have advanced, or every Republican cause that they've advanced for 5 decades almost.
Partnerships on security, intelligence, and technology. But when it doesn't, conservatives should feel no obligation to reflexively support any foreign government, no matter how loud the pressure becomes from the globalist class or from their mouthpieces in Washington. The Heritage Foundation didn't become the intellectual
Yeah, this is a really good take as well. Since Kirk's assassination suspect ended up being a cipher instead of a Groyper, Fuentes was given the opportunity to engage in a normalization tour. All he has to do is play up his charm, and the shock tactics he used to gain notoriety are forgiven. A very Trumpian rise. Yeah. All he has to do is go back on like his isolationist perspective, which was fucking bullshit to begin with, and maybe dial the anti-Semitism to like a more reasonable degree. Charm? No, it's true. He is charming his way. Guys. It's like when people used to get mad at me when I said Trump is charismatic. Trump is objectively charismatic to people that tune into that frequency. Yes. Nick Fuentes is a solid orator. And unlike a lot on the right, he has the capacity to fucking crack jokes. He can be funny. That's the reason why there's so many dumb fuck leftists who will sometimes post Nick Fuentes tweets and shit and be like, I have to hand it to him. He's really funny. A lot of Gen Z leftists unironically post Nick Fuentes shit. Well, first they post it ironically, and I fear sometimes unironically. Many such cases, many examples of this. They do not understand that this is a very dangerous. There's a very dangerous, treacherous waters that they're swimming in. Anyway, point is, people don't see him as a pathetic, racist loser who is constantly trying to make up for his own personal moral failures and his own personal failures in his real life with this grand mythologized version of the Aryan race or white people. They don't see him as the, gay Mexican who is now the leader of the white nationalist neo-Nazi movement in this country, who picks his nose on camera until it bleeds and goes on dates with cat boys and all this other shit. In any case, he will, in an effort to normalize himself and win favor with the institutional right, he will retool his commentary. And we shall see. I'm willing to bet he even dropped the anti-Semitism. He's always been the guy who shits on Trump from the right. Gay Hispanic? I say gay Mexican because he said he's Mexican to a cop. When a cop came to his house and was like, yo, what the fuck? They say, are you a white supremacist? They say you're a white supremacist. I saw the body camera footage. He's like, oh, I'm not a white supremacist, officer. I'm Mexican. My last name is Fuentes. It's on video. Yeah. All he needs to do is say, yeah, Jews are a parasitic force, but honestly, they've done profound things for the arts and culture in America. That much is undeniable. Muslims, on the other hand, are the true scourge that is going to dominate and destroy the Western nation. And then all of the fucking pro-Israel people that were pissed off about him, that want him to get debanked and shit, will then turn around and be like, this is our guy. Never mind.
Backbone of the conservative movement by canceling our own people or policing the consciences of Christians. And we won't start doing that now. We don't take direction from comments on X, though we are grateful for the robust free speech debate. We also don't take direction from members or donors, though we are inherently grateful for their support. And we're adding more every day. This is the robust debate we invite with our colleagues, our movement friends, our members, and the American public. We will always defend truth. We will always defend America, and we will always defend our friends against the slander of bad actors who serve someone else's agenda. That includes Tucker Carlson, who remains, and as I have said before, always will be a close friend of the Heritage Foundation. The venomous coalition attacking him are sowing division. Their attempt to cancel him will fail. Most importantly, the American people expect us to be focused.
Why can't like Unit 8200 and Mossad focus on these guys, dude? Just go fuck with these guys, man. These guys actually have institutional power, okay? Go deal with them. They fucking obviously are moving in that direction. Come on, man. The fuck? Every goddamn Knesset grant-funded Israeli espionage agency that masquerades as a Jewish advocacy organization has been so far lodged up my fucking asshole for the past 2 goddamn years. Suck my dick. Look at this shit. Look. There you go. Why don't the cops go after the cops? No, the difference is this. Listen to me. If you are a big donor to either party who is Jewish and care about Israel, but you're an American Jew and your family lives here, and you do actually, to a certain degree, worry about anti-Semitism, okay? Who do you think is a bigger threat? The guy who isn't an anti-Semite but is anti-Israel, or the guy who, for the time being, is seemingly pro-Israel but definitely anti-Semitic? Like, this is what I'm trying to explain. Yeah, if you care more about Israel than you do about living on U.S. soil as a Jew, then yeah, you're going to say, I'm the fucking villain here. I'm the much greater threat. But if you actually want to keep living on U.S. soil freely as a Jewish person, and at some point you're going to have to worry about anti-Semitism. And it's not the fucking anti-Zionists that are doing the anti-Semitism. It is, however, anti-Semites that are taking advantage of the momentum behind anti-Zionism and anti-Israel sentiment. Oh, I know Israel doesn't give a shit all that much about anti-Semitism, which again is also short-sighted, because obviously if everyone moves away from, oh, fuck Israel, to like, actually it is the Jews, why do they have so much control over America? Then do you think that it's going to remain the same way? Like, do you think that don't you think it's going to be much harder? It's certainly going to be much harder for America to continue its relationship with Israel. There is no winning. Obama tried to do a nuclear deal with Iran, and Israel responded by attacking him and largely rejecting the Democratic Party, believing that aligning solely with Republicans was good enough because at least they never criticized the occupation or apartheid. Yet, as many people warned at the time, the Jewish state aligning itself with a coalition that included white nationalists might not be a stable long-term strategy. But Israel preferred trying that to ending the occupation, so here we are. I guess it's just like, we'll see. Only time will tell. I mean, if these guys are genuinely anti-Semitic instead of like utilizing the populist wave of anti-Semitism to their advantage, but they're still very much pro-Israel, only time will show. My opinion on this is, I suspect that whichever way it comes, anti-Zionism seemingly is an inevitability. It can either come in a not anti-Semitic fashion as a progressive movement, or in the more likely scenario, it will come as an anti-Semitic movement by the right. Because, like, what do you think happens? What do you think happens after all of this normalization of anti-Semitic sentiment, Holocaust denial, and the like? What do you think? Where do you think that goes? When more and more people are just like, yeah, fuck Jews, actually. What do you think is going to happen? They're going to be like, okay, why the fuck are we giving Israel so much money? Why would that be more likely? Because it's infinitely easier to fucking lean into bigotry and teach an American that Israel is bad because Jews than it is to teach an American that Israel is bad because of anti-imperialism and describe to them that like America itself is also involved in Israel's affairs pretty dramatically. Do you not understand? Also, the far right can get away with doing whatever the fuck they want. It's obvious. Americans are far easier to manipulate on the boundaries of bigotry than they are to be educated on the boundaries of materialist analysis. That's it.
Focusing on our political adversaries on the left, not attacking our friends on the right. I disagree with and even abhor things that Nick Fuentes says. But canceling him is not the answer either. When we disagree with a person's thoughts and opinions, we challenge those ideas in debate.
This is a watershed moment for conservative Jews and the American pro-Israel movement in general, where it's like, do you stay steadfast in your unlimited allegiance to the Republicans because of their seemingly unconditional loyalty and support to the ethno-state of Israel, even if they just straight up are defending Holocaust-denying Nazis? Fucking awesome. What a crazy time to be alive. He said, don't cancel the Nazi, the Holocaust-denying Nazi. Come on now.
And we have seen success in this approach as we continue to dismantle the vile ideas of the left. As my friend Vice President Vance said last night, what I am not okay with is any country coming before the interest of American citizens, and it is important for all of us, assuming we are American citizens, to put the interest of our own country first. That's where our allegiance lies, and that's where it will stay.
Woo! Sheesh. This is a historical moment, and every Jew should watch this. The Heritage Foundation is the intellectual cornerstone of the Republican Party, and here it embraces Fuentes as a legitimate part of the right-wing discourse. The pretense of Nazism being unacceptable on the right, it never was, is gone. This comes after Vance did not dispute claims that Judaism was based on discrimination against Christians. Yes, the American vice president premier think tank of the right legitimized open anti-Semitism within 24 hours. How did this happen? Many on the right gave a pass to anti-Semitism as long as the GOP supported Israel, even as it became more open. That was the sentiment among the right-wing Israel supporters. Now they are finding that the naked anti-Semitism is worse, and support for Israel is eroded too. The Faustian bargain has ended predictably. The mainstream of conservatism has embraced open anti-Semitism. There will be no turning back. I've long held the opinion that I have revealed to you time and time again, that the only reason why anti-Semitism was seemingly the only form of bigotry that had institutional weight was because it could be cynically weaponized against critics of Israel, which is America's ally, right? Most significant ally, as a matter of fact. And over the years, I think, both from an anti-imperialist analysis, but also for the unlimited reign that pro-Israel advocacy networks had, they created a fairly sophisticated influence peddling operation and were able to run through institutions of higher learning, run through all of these advocacy organizations, constantly silencing any sort of fucking opposition whatsoever. But the main purpose that served, this institution that served, was on the one hand to create obviously a lot of people in positions of power that held strong loyalty to the state of Israel, for sure. That's why you see so many like Catholics and Christians. It's not like a Jewish thing, right? That's why you see so many Catholics and Christians and people in positions of power that are like, Israel, of course, is our most important ally. Like there's a lot of social learning there. There's a lot of conditioning there that took place. And now that's seemingly changing. Part of that is because Israel's value is being recalculated in the Western world. And also, anti-Semitism is getting to a point where it's virtually impossible for these. It's anti-Semitism is no longer seen as like this institutional taboo. Okay, because like as far as permissible bigotry versus not permissible bigotry goes, saying anything that was even marginally associated or could be associated with Jews or Judaism was a ticket to be fucking canceled, a ticket to be fired. And there were a lot of Israeli Knesset funded networks that literally dox people and did this for years and years and years. But most people were not very aware of it, not very familiar with it, unless you were already in the pro-Palestinian advocacy network, right? Now that people are openly calling into question whether or not this level of unlimited loyalty, seemingly, in the eyes of the broader American public, is actually good for America at all, now the whole anti-Semitism as an institutional or cultural taboo is going away. It's outliving its usefulness. I just want to know what Ben Shapiro thinks. Just a year ago, Heritage helped crack down on pro-Palestinian protests for Israel's sake. Now they defend Tucker, who recently interviewed Nick Fuentes, and reject any special relationship with Israel, makes reference to the globalist class. More bad news for the lobby. A bit naive, I think. They're setting the groundwork for realigning Israel first to be more insidious and subtle. To be easier to sell as America first. You said you wanted America first. Getting a base in southern Syria on Mount Hebron is super America first. This is it, pal. I also think this could be the case. I've seen some Trump people try to do that, but I don't think that's what this is. I think Heritage is trying to keep its coalition together despite this fracture, but not specifically in a pro-Israel way. Republicans, unlike the Democrats, have historically been, especially in post-Reagan world, much more responsive to their base. Okay? They have to be. And they will invent new ways for their base to be agitated if there isn't one with the culture war shit. And of course, because of that, they've gone further and further to the right. I think it's very unstable and very stupid to assume that the appetite of the base wasn't going to inevitably tackle the sacred cow that is anti-Semitism, the untouchable form of bigotry, identity politics that is anti-Semitism, often cynically weaponized against critics of Israel. That's it. I've warned about this quite a bit. I said it for the past 2 years. And people would say, "Oh, you're being Jewish exceptionalist." No, it's like I don't think any bigotry is good. Okay? It wasn't me being Jewish exceptionalist or anything like that. It was just me saying like this is untenable, this is unsustainable, and the dam will inevitably break, and it won't break in the direction of dedicated, committed anti-Zionism that is anti-fascist in origin, but it will actually be a fascist style of anti-Israel sentiment that is born out of anti-Semitism. This is a Christian nation after all. Good luck to all involved, I say. In a way, though, I don't think those are contradictory. Pro-Palestine protests were from the left, so cracking down on them is good. The anti-Israel sentiment of Tucker and Fuentes is just isolationism and anti-Semitism, nothing to do with Muslims' humanity, so that's more tolerable. I think this is a funny carve-out that they did for Marjorie Taylor Greene, Remember when they were trying to federalize the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, which would render all anti-Zionist sentiment to be illegal? A direct... there's a clip of how they would wish for your commentary after all the anti-Semites take over. Yeah, I've said it a million times. Yeah, there will come a day, just like this was in my Oxford speech as well, where I warned that as an American Muslim, I cannot believe that those who defend Israel, Jews specifically who defend Israel, are basically running around the Western world right now, oblivious to the reality to people who are uninitiated. They look like a Muslim guy defending ISIS. And in some instances, it's even more directly involved with the domestic affairs of Western nations, because like no one can blame, with the exception of Obama, someone being like a secret Muslim or an advocacy network that was pro-Islam or pro-ISIS in general, that had as much institutional power as the Israel lobby does in both the United States of America, the UK, and many other Western nations. Oh, what about the IHRA definition? Yeah, it reminds me of the funny carve-out that they gave to Marjorie Taylor Greene in the IHRA definition, where they were like, criticizing Israel is unacceptable and it's anti-Semitism. And these are the different forms of anti-Semitism, except you can say Jews are Christ killers. The Marjorie Taylor Greene carve-out was you can say that Jews are Christ killers because, you know, that's Christianity demands that you say that. I remember you saying the Judeo part of Judeo-Christian will go away. Yes. The whole Judeo-Christian values, we're a nation founded on Judeo-Christian values thing, is such a new fucking added on thing to the back end. No, this was a Christian nation founded on Christian values until not that fucking long ago. You know? But people got far too comfortable. I think it's here somewhere where he's like, where is it? Where he says like, I'm not a white supremacist, I'm a Mexican. Oh, I think right here.
They're targeting your house.
Yes, I've been
about
harassed
social
for the past
media.
4 days.
Okay, and what is that about?
I posted a joke on the internet. I'm a live streamer.
You're like a YouTube channel or something?
Yeah.
You're saying you're
Yeah, the joke was your body, my choice, by the way. He was like celebrating that women will be dominated under the Trump.
Supremacist?
I'm not a white supremacist. I'm Mexican. My last name's Fuentes.
I know, I kind of
white supremacist.
I saw you're a white supremacist?
I'm not a white supremacist. I'm Mexican. My last name's Fuentes.
I know, I kind of
white supremacist.
I saw that. Okay. But
Yeah. I'm not a white supremacist, I'm Mexican, he said. Mind you, in this clip, he complains about threats of rapes days after saying rape wasn't real. Yeah, of course. Isn't that Islam? What is Islam? Yorick player? What do you mean? It's already difficult enough to try to have a conversation, a normal conversation with the average American about how no, Israel doesn't control American politics. Like when virtually everything that these advocacy groups and the lobby does is basically being like, no, actually we do control it. like how do I fucking explain that to the average American when they're like, when they're watching the Trump administration, for example, be like, oh yeah, we're deporting people. Shalom. Oh, did you talk shit about Israel? Sorry, you're getting deported. The fuck? How do you explain that to the average person who's like, I thought we didn't fuck with this woke culture shit. I thought we didn't fuck with any of this woke stuff, except for when it comes to Jews, I guess. Why is that so special? Is going to be the average American's attitude when they see it. They're not thinking about this as a complex relationship between America's unsinkable aircraft carrier in the fucking region, you know? Or when they see stuff like in the glorious state of Texas, when you, if you've ever criticized Israel, you just simply can't get, hurricane relief. Yeah, the based anti-war guy is now literally calling to invade Venezuela.
Interest of America is to control the Western Hemisphere. And the reason for that is very simple. We are not threatened by Europe. We're not threatened by Asia. A big reason for that is because we have the Pacific and Atlantic Ocean separating us. So, any kind of invasion from a great power over there, it doesn't have a direct threat against the homeland because we would see it coming. They'd have this logistical challenge of crossing the ocean. That changed a little bit with nuclear weapons and missiles, but that still is generally true. And so what that means then is that in order for America to keep the homeland safe, what we have to worry about most acutely and imminently is the Western Hemisphere. Maybe Iran is not a threat because they're literally on the other side of the world, but Venezuela is close to home. Cuba is close to home. And the perfect example is the Cuban Missile Crisis. This is your vital American strategic interest. This is, people say, isn't the purpose of the military to protect America? This is protecting America. These are the Americas. These are strategic interests. And so, and by the way, what
Isolationists, by the way. We must focus on removing the Mexicans from the interior. That was his isolationism, which was we must rid the nation state of the undeserving Mexicans, except for him, And now he's like, no, actually, we should be going to war with Cuba and Venezuela.
What's more, this has been U.S. policy for 200 years. It goes back to the Monroe Doctrine. And, people like to say we shouldn't meddle in their affairs. We've been doing that since the Spanish-American War. We've been doing that since, there were these banana republics. Like, we've always been operating in that way. And that's for a very good reason. I think that's a realist
but
point
to
of
be a
view.
finer point, the Monroe Doctrine is we don't meddle. You meddle, we come in.
Is Alex Jones starting to beat Ozempic? Yeah, I do see it. Latino, by the way. Yeah. True. Fantastic stuff. Why aren't they deporting him then?
The question is about Joe.
Because he's white enough, bro, and he's an important figure in the right-wing movement. Here's Ben Lorber. One last point on the Kevin Roberts thing. 3 years ago, Kevin Roberts flanked Yoram Hazony at NatCon, and it looked like a durable, lasting America First consensus would include the pro-Israel status quo more or less unchanged. Not anymore. Nick Fuentes just shattered it. Last year, I went to NatCon and expected, perhaps naively, to find a big fight over Israel brewing on the conference floor. It wasn't quite there yet. I was 1 year too early. The Israel split on the right just widened into a chasm. Strap yourselves in. I don't think a lot of institutional donors of the Republican Party, like Miriam Adelson and shit, are going to take this lightly. Chasm, sorry, not chasm. I don't think so. I don't know, but Israel is also a very, I don't know. Israel does have a very mischievous way of dealing with American politics, even though it's very blunt usually. So who knows? Maybe they are also saying, you guys can be anti-Semitic as long as you're just more Islamophobic or something. Who knows? What you've been saying? I can't even take credit for predicting this. Is worse than it's worse than I ever predicted. I don't know what exactly you abhor about my views, but we can all agree that free speech, Christ, and America First should be the pillars of our movement. Thank you for your courage in standing up for open discourse and defending Tucker against Israel First woke right. The right has no immune system against hate mongers and grifters. Few people in MAGA circles are willing to stand up to them, and the audiences likely wouldn't support them if they did. Right-wing writer Richard Hanania, who knows plenty about this world, summed it up on X, writing that the contemporary right-wing media has no interest in arguments, leaving only charisma and appeals to identity. You wanted a culture where nobody was ever canceled, where the only sin is a lack of baseness or being a cuck, where if the media was opposed to someone, that's all you needed to know, and you would defend them, Hanania tweeted. You got it. Richard Hanania is literally a white supremacist, by the way. Like, he is a Palestinian who was, I don't know if he still is, very pro-Israel, and also was a straight up white supremacist. I don't know if he still is, but he has made this weird, like, liberal pivot, and I'm kind of confused by all of it. Still very much a freak, Asian fetishist. I don't know. He is just like a bizarre dude, but the abundists have brought him into the fucking fold. Yeah. What is this? Thinking about the red pill? Fuck both of you. Why did you send this to me? The term is abundance cucks. Get the name right, man. No, I like calling them abundists. I saw libs on social media suggesting him during the Joe Rogan on the Left discourse. Oh my God. How has he been more liberal recently? I mean, he takes pot shots at the right quite frequently, hangs out with mostly liberal commentariat people, and has spent most of his time shitting on the far right and right wing people from like an annoying elitist liberal, in an annoying elitist liberal kind of way. Dog, why are evil Palestinians next level? Him and Bukele? That's actually a very interesting take. You're right. I forget all the time that Nayib Bukele is also of Palestinian descent. Not the finest moment for a very fine people. People are saying DJ Khaled, but at least DJ Khaled is not like outwardly antagonistic towards Palestinians. He's just too much of a pussy to say something. Scoop, a classified U.S. report has found Israeli military units committed many hundreds of potential violations, human rights violations of Gaza that will take multiple years to review. The findings mark the first time the U.S. government reports has acknowledged the scale of Israeli actions in Gaza that fall under the purview of Leahy laws, which bar funding to units credibly accused of such abuses. U.S. officials said the watchdog findings raised doubts about the prospects for accountability for Israel's actions, given the large backlog of incidents and the nature of the review process, which is deferential to the Israeli Defense Forces. This is a classified U.S. report that finds backlogs of, wow, shocking, hundreds of possible Israeli human rights violations. The State Department's Office of the Inspector General declined to comment for this article, but has acknowledged that the report's existence on its website. This report contains information that is classified and is not available for public viewing, the webpage says. High-profile incidents in Gaza pending a determination are numerous, including the killing of 7 World Central Kitchen workers in Israel in April 2024, and the killing of more than 100 Palestinians and wounding of 750 others gathered around 8 trucks near Gaza City in February 2024. The report explains the protocol for reviewing human rights violations by foreign militaries that receive U.S. funding. In the case of Israel, it describes how a bespoke bureaucratic process advantages Israel over other countries facing similar allegations. What? No way, dude. Classified U.S. report finds backlog of hundreds of possible Israeli human rights violations. 100 seems low. I mean, that's just like logged directly that the American government genuinely knows about or has acknowledged to a certain degree. Anyway, let's continue on with our stories here. Oh, King Charles III strips Prince Andrew of titles and evicts him from royal residence, the palace says. That's right. Bad day for a paedophile. Only this one particular paedophile in London. That's right. King Charles III strips Prince Andrew of titles and evicts him from the royal residence. Womp womp. You are now relegated to the title of commoner. Evicted after weeks of pressure to act over his relationship with sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, Buckingham Palace said. After the king's rare move, which follows years of shameful scandals, he will be known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and not as a prince. And he will have to vacate his Royal Lodge mansion near Windsor Castle. Demand had been growing on the palace to oust the prince from Royal Lodge after he surrendered his use of the title Duke of York earlier this month over new revelations about his friendship with Epstein and renewed sexual abuse allegations by one of Epstein's victims, Virginia Roberts Giuffre, whose posthumous memoir hit bookstores last week. Yeah. I can't believe it. His whole, like, I am incapable of sweating, or that's not my pedophilia shirt that I was wearing that day. These lines of defense did not work. I'm shocked, if we're being real. Shocked, I tell you. Shocking. Have you seen that Prince Andrew is more popular than the Labour government? What? I'm sorry. What did you say? I mean, I know Keir Starmer is unpopular, but how is that? Is that even physically possible? Like, how is that? What? Someone link that to me. You're a liar, just admit it. It's not that hard. He promises gaming, but we all know that's a bold-faced lie. Please just show some accountability for your actions, son. Do better. No, I will be playing a game. Oh my God. Remember when I warned you? In the aftermath of the predictable Labour government victory? I still remember. I was in Croatia when it was happening. And I talked about if the Labour government continues pivoting towards moderation and takes on right-wing causes and champions center-right policies, basically tries to manage the government in the same way that the fucking Tories did, they will get pummeled very quickly. Remember when I said that? And there were so many Labour dick riders in my chat saying that that was not the case. Where are they now? Did you get a tattoo? Oh, because I said Croatia. Yeah. Me and the boys. You just read my comment? What did you say? Anyway, let's see what Kamala Harris had to say. And then we'll talk about the Snap AI. And then we'll do some gaming and stuff too.
Joe Biden, are you still reluctant to criticize the former president?
In what regard, please?
Well, just in terms of that question. So you went on.
What exactly would you like to ask? Be more specific if you don't mind.
Was it Joe Biden's decision, his failure to recognize his own frailties in that position, that put you in the position that made it almost impossible to win that race?
He was not frail as president of the United States.
But he had frailties. We all saw the debate.
I do believe that Joe Biden had the capacity to be president of the United States, and I have never doubted that he had the capacity to be president of the United States. If you want to talk about whether he had the ability to endure what a race for president of the United States would require in that political environment in 2024, as I've said in the book, I had concerns.
I'm just wondering, is there a reason why you won't go to that prolonged frailty question? Now, we saw the debate, we saw the difficulty he had marshalling his thoughts.
I have answered that question. I do not believe that
I think it's just hard watching the debate to see how there could not be a problem long term.
It's just, dude, it's awesome. It's awesome watching like European journalists actually do the basic bare minimum duties of a journalist instead of just like lapping up whatever the fuck, eating whatever the fuck Kamala Harris is serving her. It's so funny that she's, okay, Australian, sorry. It's so funny that she's also completely fucking unresponsive, like just having a hard time with this like basic function. Question to Harris: what hasn't Biden's refusal to recognize his own frailties the reason you face a nearly impossible task? Which, by the way, would defend Kamala here. Like, she is still not throwing Joe Biden under the bus. Ironically enough, that's the reason why she lost to a certain degree. Sarah Ferguson, she literally interviewed for... Oh, wait, I did get interviewed by her. Oh, my God. Okay, technically, you could say Aussies are European, too. They're of European descent. Okay, calm down. Oh, my God, me and Kamala, me and the bestie got interviewed by the same lady. You're right.
So what was at play in terms of massive amounts of...
Harris talks, Trump and the reporter. I want to interrupt you because that is a world-class pivot, but it's not the question that I asked you.
Disinformation.
Now, forgive me.
And a truncated calendar in terms of the clock.
I want to interrupt you because that is a world-class pivot, but it is not the question that I asked you, which is about Joe Biden's failure to recognize his own frailties and what that did to you.
Look at her face. Look at her face. Look at her face. She's like, are you fucking kidding me? Bro, I've never, like, that kind of stank does not come from an American broadcaster or an American journalist. Straight up. Last time I saw this kind of contentious adversarial journalism was when Crystal Ball was cooking Elisa Slotkin. This shit does not happen, chat. Americans don't do this. Take note, American media.
The question is about Joe Biden. Are you still reluctant to criticize the former president?
In what regard, please?
Well, just in terms of that question. So you went on...
What exactly would you like to ask? Be more specific, if you don't mind.
Was it Joe Biden's decision, his failure to recognize his own frailties in that position, that put you in the position that made it almost impossible to win that race?
He was not frail as president of the United States.
But he had frailties. We all saw the debate.
It's just like do you not understand that you are just melting whatever small chance remains of your next run by eating away at the marginal credibility that you have by denying objective, observable reality? It doesn't make sense. I don't understand it. I don't know what the fuck these guys love about Biden so much. Don't you have to be somewhat vicious? I feel like if a similar thing happened between Donald Trump and JD Vance would have probably put the pillow over Trump's face and assassinated him. Okay? Like, these guys don't have that fucking killer instinct. It's like they don't want to fucking win. It's like they have this weird notion of loyalty towards someone like Biden who does not even have the same standard. Biden has already yelled about Kamala Harris on his way out. And Biden fell up and downstairs every time he was on camera for 4 years straight, and he's not frail. It just doesn't make any sense. It's like, this is one of those things. Like, American medical professionals are pretty decent and have a solid track record at hiding the frailties of former presidents. Okay? They are. They did this with Ronald Reagan and his dementia. FDR famously could not walk. He was in a wheelchair and he hid that from the public. Obviously, it was a little bit easier to do so back then. Okay? But Joe Biden could not hide it. Like, he just straight up could not hide his dementia because it was so transparent. It was unavoidable. And here is Kamala Harris, months after the failed election, still running around and being like, I'm going to burn what remains of the charitability you have for me by defending this fucking carcass who won't ever hear me say these things about him because he's probably in a fucking coma somewhere. Like, just say the truth, dummy. What's wrong with you? Say he's fucking old and we all saw it and it was a mistake, please. You're not going to lose anything. Not that it matters. I don't want her to fucking run anyway. And this is part of the reason, because she's just patently uncharismatic and also has no killer instincts whatsoever.
I do believe that Joe Biden had the capacity to be president of the United States, and I have never doubted that he had.
Yeah, you're burning whatever credibility you may have had by saying this over and over again, because people will now look at you and go, I thought this was already well established. I can't believe that someone is still out there defending Joe Biden's mental faculties. Anything planned for the end of Dogtober? Yes. I'm going to fuck your mom on camera.
Had the capacity to be president of the United States. If you want to talk about...
She's very excited. You're about to have a little brother or sister on the way. I am now your stepfather. No, I'm the father that stepped up. Go to your room. You're now grounded.
Whether he had the ability to endure what a race for president of the United States would...
Oh my God, it's so fucking stupid. Wait, she went on Jon Stewart and said the same shit? Let's see.
Fully competent to serve.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do.
That surprises me, actually.
No, I do. There's a distinction to be made between running for president.
I love that. That's so funny. Yeah. Campaigning so much more difficult than being president. Like, he can do the president stuff. He just couldn't campaign. That's why he had to drop out. Yeah, Kamala Harris cannot be the Democratic nominee for president in 2028 unless Democrats want to spend another campaign relitigating Joe Biden's failed presidency in this roundabout and unsatisfying way. The single most important thing the 2028 Democratic presidential nominee needs to do is remind the media and voter that Donald Trump is the president and has been for the past 4 years, if not the past 12. At this point, Kamala is making it pretty obvious that she didn't write her own memoir because none of her public appearances since it's released have matched the few hard-edged and critical and actually interesting excerpts from the book. Her still being reluctant to go after Biden is genuinely really remarkable. The big thing you did in that book was burn that bridge. There might be some evidence that it's actually helping you in the polls. How can you be so indecisive that you're trying to muddy that? I didn't fucking read her book because I'm not a goddamn nerd. So don't be crazy now. But watch the interview segment on Biden that she did with the CEO guy. Why is she doing this? I don't understand it.
Stars in our party. There are so many stars. And let's not be afraid of them.
Yeah. Throw back to when she tried pulling the same deflection a month or so ago. by talking about a mayoral candidate in Mobile, Alabama, who lost 2 days later. Yeah, that was awesome. Like, I thought she was pulling, some new young neoliberal candidates around the country. It turns out it was like a 60-year-old black lady that had been like an institutional Democrat and still lost in Mobile, Alabama, 2 days after the Kamala Harris endorsement. It blew my mind. Like, that's a deadlock, right? Like, that's supposed to be a lock. How the fuck do you lose that race? Is the Kamala curse, dude? Yeah, she was not young at all. These people and their belief systems are so unbelievably hollow that they're talking about the most definitional aspect of being a national politician, knowing the other politicians around the country and parading it as this totally unique approach. Mobile mentioned it was not a lock, by the way. Yeah, clearly it wasn't because she lost. Oh, Jesus Christ. I cannot believe she's still defending Biden. It's so
And
stupid.
being president.
What's the distinction?
Well, being a candidate for president of the United States is about being in a marathon at a sprinter's pace, having tomatoes thrown at you every step you take.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah, it's more than a notion.
Get involved in public service, ladies and gentlemen.
And to be the seated president, the sitting president, while doing that, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. I think it's a hard case to make for people that he didn't have the stamina to run, but he had the stamina to govern. Because I think most people view the presidency as a marathon run at a sprint with tomatoes.
I love that. I love that Jon Stewart is like so gracefully trying to walk him through how stupid she sounds. Like, yeah, I think people would assume that being the president is probably just as hard, if not harder, than running for office. You know? And Joe Biden did not demonstrate the basic competency. Come on.
Tomatoes being thrown at you in terms of governance.
I believe.
Watch, she's going to lose the primary again and run as an independent. No, she's not. She's fucking cooked. All right. The last thing I want to show you about the Snap stuff is that contrary, I mean, this is the most expected story of the day. Republicans have decided to take advantage of Sora, artificial intelligence AI, to make these Snap recipients, angry Snap recipient videos.
I'm gonna keep it real with you. I get over $2,500 a month in stamps. I sell them $2,000 worth for about $1,200 to $1,500 cash. That's why everybody's upset. Folks say we're taking advantage, but that's how we get by.
And that's the frustration we're hearing out here in downtown Atlanta.
The Sora AI logo can be seen appearing in the upper left corner of the video. Additionally, the car behind the speakers is not a real car in production by any known company. The video's AI generated 15,000 likes. Title is, Lady gets $2,500 a month, Snap food stamps, and she sells all of them for $1,200 a month. What an absolute scam. It took longer than I expected. I mean, this is the primary function of AI, right? Because conservatives love making up an alternative reality. And because there's no like real life examples they can point to, now they have a tool where they can basically make it up and then get angry at the thing that they made up. What a perfect tool for conservative mania.